My name is Stacy Stahl, and I'm an educational consultant with McGraw-Hill. I have been consulting with McGraw-Hill for about 20 years with some of the various programs they have. I am from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and normally this job gets me out traveling. However, this summer it's kind of a mixture of traveling and doing virtual workshops. So it's kind of nice Monday morning to be working from my house. Please let me know what you need as we go through the training this morning. It is just a short training, and I'm going to give you a crash course on Inspire Science. So the agenda that I'm going to go over and get started with is just giving you an overview of Inspire Science. Then I'm going to go through the lesson design so that you can see the 5E model that's present in the lessons. We'll talk briefly on assessment, and then I'm just going to share some leveled reader resources that you can use to incorporate reading instruction into science. You might want to take a picture of this screen now or write this down. I'm going to be using this website throughout the training, and you are welcome to just follow along with me as I'm going, or I probably will be able to give you a little bit of time to explore. But in case you don't have access to your district credentials yet for ConnectEd and the Inspire Science platform, the digital piece, I would write this down, or like I said, take a picture of it. The website's my.mheducation.com. And then the username is GA Inspire. And then the password, GA is capitalized, Inspire1. And this will give you access to all materials, student and teacher, K-5. So if you are a new teacher and maybe you didn't get to your classroom yet, or you don't know where your materials are, you can access the teacher's edition and all the materials online here. In addition, some of you may work with multiple grade levels, and this would be helpful because you are able to access everything K-5. And feel free, if like I'm going too fast or you have a question, either just unmute. It's a small group. We can make it informal, or throw it into the chat box and I'll try to help you out. And if I can't answer your question today, because I know there is a Georgia specific edition of Inspire Science that you're using, I will definitely get into contact with the sales rep, and then I can get back to you to support you. I put my email address on the first slide. I'll show it again at the end in case you didn't get it the first time, but you can feel free to contact me after the training too if you have any questions. So I'm just going to start with an overview of Inspire Science, just so you get a little background of the program. It does follow the NGSS, the Next Generation Science Standards, and that does incorporate three-dimensional learning. And you can see on the chart there that the three-dimensional learning ideas you will see carried throughout Inspire Science, and they are color-coded. So just like the NGSS, you have the disciplinary core ideas, which is the content in orange. The science and engineering practices, those skills that the children will use when they are talking about the how and the why of science, and all those process skills that you do when you're investigating science. And then also in green, there is the cross-cutting concepts, which are the common themes that will be carried across the units and modules that you will be instructing. And the 3D learning is in every learning. Now, you will have access to teacher resources, both digital and in print. You have a teacher's edition, and there are 4 teacher's editions for every grade level. There's 4 units of Inspire Science for every grade level. You will have access to the ConnectEd piece, which I just gave you the username and password for. And then there are science read alouds in grades K and 1. Students have materials as well. They have a work text, which is like your traditional workbook where the students will be doing their science investigations and writing about it, talking about it. There are leveled readers, which we will talk about today, that are within every grade level and every module of instruction. The students also have access to the digital piece as well. So they will have a username and password. I'm not sure what your district does, if they have like a single sign-on, or you'll have to check how the kids will get access to that. A lot of the districts now have single sign-ons where...
Hey, Stacy, it's Christina. I just wanted to jump in and let teachers know that we do utilize ClassLink as a single sign-on. So for teachers to access their McGraw-Hill resources, as well as students will sign in via the ClassLink to access. So we do have single sign-on.
Okay, great. So your students will have access to that. And there's also the Investigator Science magazine that is both in print and digital. That's just grades 3 through 5. And then depending on what your district has, there are manipulative kits, or they call them collaboration kits. So I'm not sure what your district has ordered, but there are materials that go along with investigations. Let's now talk about the pacing options and what you have per grade level. So I said earlier that you'll have 4 units in your grade level, and within each unit will have 1 to 2 modules per unit. And you can think of the module like a chapter. So for example, there on the left side, you see one of the chapters or the modules in grade 4 is transfer of energy. And then within that module or chapter, then there are lessons, and there's anywhere from 2 to 5 lessons per module. And you do have pacing options for the modules within your lesson guide. In the first couple of pages, there's like a lesson overview and a module overview. And you can see here on this slide that it just gives an overview of the lesson and resources that you may need to instruct. And so you'll have some pacing options. So depending on what grade level you teach and the time period that you have for science instruction, it'll show you like what you can complete during the lesson, depending on the time that you have. The next thing that I would like to take a look at is the lesson design. So depending on not whatever grade level you teach, it's really nice because Inspire Science K-5 is set up almost the same way across K to 5. So if you're teaching 3rd grade this year and then next year you move to 5th grade, your lesson design is going to be the same. So the Inspire Science starts with a 5E lesson model. So you can see here on the screen, there is the engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. Those are the 5 parts of the 5E model. At the beginning of the module, there is a module opener, and usually starts with a concept video, which tries to spark the interest and the curiosity with the kids. And then it introduces key vocabulary that will be associated with the module. There's also, you'll see in the module opener and a couple other places within the lesson, there are the STEM career connections. So the children are exposed to different STEM careers, which helps them think about possibilities in the future of things that they would like to do that incorporate science, math, and technology. And another thing that occurs at the beginning of every single lesson is a Page-Keeley probe. A Page-Keeley probe will assess the lesson readiness. And what it does is assesses misconceptions that the kids may have about science. And it is at the beginning of every lesson. there is a question that the kids are posed with, and then the kids make a choice of their answer, and they do some explanation. Now, this probe will be revisited throughout the module and then at the end of the module also. And it does help the children address those preconceptions or misconceptions that they have about science. And one of the things you want to do when you are introducing this with the kids is you want to let them have that productive struggle. You don't want to give them the answer to the question right away. You want to have them have a productive struggle. Let them have that desire to want to find out the answer, and they will go through the steps of thinking to solve the problem. So we will, like I said, revisit this throughout the module, and then at the end, we'll do a wrap up. One second. Can everybody please mute? And then you can just unmute if you have a question. Thank you. Okay, then moving on to the first part of the lesson, the first E in the 5E lesson model is engage. Engage will start with a phenomenon that will spark the curiosity of the kids. The kids will make an observation about a situation, and then it will lead to the essential question. So the essential question will focus the learning for the lesson. And then you'll also see this is another opportunity where there'll be another STEM career kid connection. Moving on to the explore section of the lesson, the second lesson, this is where the kids are going to have an inquiry activity. So within the inquiry activity, you'll have the materials needed for the activity, you'll have the procedure, you'll have questions for each activity. The kids will carry out the investigation, and then they will record and analyze their work. And they will do that in their science notebook. So they call it the Be a Scientist notebook.
Okay, so but they can't see us right.
And they will do the recording and the that notebook.
So you have a prescription. You'll have to take it to any pharmacy that you want to have it filled and then pick it back up. Okay, it is oxycodone with Tylenol. That's Percocet.
Can you mute, please?
And you can take that every 8 hours as needed.
A hard time finding the mute all. Sorry, it's been a while since I've done the Zoom. And then the children are encouraged during this part of the lesson to communicate like scientists do, to have that collaborative discussion, to have that discourse, so that they can be thinking about science, talking about science, and exploring the concepts. The next part of the 5E model is explain. There are several ways to access content. So this is another way that the children are going to be accessing the content to help them understand the concepts of the module. So in this activity, there are several different ways they can do that. There might be something that's virtual and interactive. Could be a simulation. Could be a video that they watch. There's also in grades 3 through 5, pages that they can read in the science handbook to help them understand the concepts. And then there is opportunity for the kids to be writing about the concepts as well. So you will have this additional resource for the kids to read and write about science concepts to further their understanding. There will be some graphic organizers that you can use as well to help them with the information. In this stage, this is another part of the lesson where you will revisit that Paige-Keeley probe. So at the beginning of the lesson, the kids might have had some misconceptions about the content of the lesson. And then as they're doing the inquiry activity and they're further reading it in the science handbook, then this is a chance for them to further refine their understanding. So maybe they had these mixed conceptions earlier, but now with all of the investigations, the discussion that they've had, things that they've read about, that they are starting to understand the concept better. So that's why I said, like at the beginning, when you do the Paige-Keeley probe, don't just give them the answer. You want them to have that productive struggle, and you want them to have that desire to have the investigation and do the thinking to get their understanding. In this part as well, there is a quick check you can do for some formative assessment to help you drive the rest of the instruction for the lesson and in the unit. The next part of the lesson is the elaborate. And with the elaborate part of the lesson, there is a second inquiry activity. And within this, there is another STEM connection. The last part of the 5E model is evaluate. And within this section, there is a performance task. It does have a rubric that goes along with it. So you can look at the rubric to see where the kids are at in their level of understanding. And then you will revisit the essential question and then have that be a wrap up for the lesson. In addition, there is a module wrap up, and within the module wrap up, you will see a performance project where, again, the kids have another chance to demonstrate their understanding. They would have also more opportunities to incorporate reading and writing into science. I mentioned a moment ago that there is a quick check formative assessment, very informal, that you would do to determine how the kids are doing within the lessons. But when you do get to the end of the lesson, you do have the opportunity to complete a test. So there are tests for every lesson, and then there are tests for the module. So depending on your district and what you do for assessment, you can give the assessment for the lesson, and then you can also give the assessment for the end of the module. The assessments can be given either paper, pencil, or digital. And if you do complete it digitally, you do have the opportunity of having reports being available to you. So if your kids complete the test digitally, it will be automatically graded, and then you will be able to pull up some reports to see how the kids are doing with their performance. The other thing that you can do to meet the needs of your kids is the test can be edited. So you can go into the digital part of ConnectEd, and you can edit the test to meet the needs of your kids. Now, before I move on with some other parts of the training, what I thought you guys could do now is take some time to look through a lesson, since most of you had said you were new to Inspire Science today, or you didn't have the training before. I thought it might be a good idea for you to go into a lesson. If you're going to be with me for the next session, I'm going to be doing more digital training. So I'm not going to be doing a lot of how to navigate ConnectEd now, because that's going to be in the next section. But what I will show you right now is how to access your ebook digitally, in case you don't have one with you right now. So I know some of you have popped on since we started. So why don't I go back to the slide where it has the ConnectEd information, and then I will show you how to get to the ebook. Go back to the beginning of the presentation.
Okay, here go Demetrius Watkins,
Who is it?
Kayla auntie. I'm in the group with her.
Ah. She don't know?
Yeah.
All right, if everybody could please mute, and then you can unmute if you have a question or put it in the chat box. So I'm putting up on the screen now the website for ConnectEd. That's where you're going to get the digital information. So if you would either write it down or take a picture of it, my.mheducation.com. And then the username is here and the password. I'm going to have you guys go online and take a look at a lesson from your grade level and try to find all the 5E portions of the lesson. And then I can be available if you have questions. So let me give you another second to write that down. And then I will go onto the website and show you how to navigate. All right, so you should be seeing my screen now. When you log into ConnectEd, as I said earlier, you do have access to all materials K-5, and you also have access to the student books as well as the teacher materials. So what I would do is I would just find your grade level and then click on where it says Teacher Edition. And then once you get to Teacher Edition, if you go up here to the left-hand corner, this will help you navigate all of the modules in your grade level. So what I'm going to have you guys do now is take a look at your grade level. You can pick one of the modules, and then you can go through and take a look at the lessons. Now, what you may want to do is just access the ebook right now to take a look at the lesson. It might be the easiest place to do that. So over at the right, if you click on ebook, your teacher's guide will come up, and you can go to the top left corner and you have the table of contents, and then you can choose the module that you would like to take a look at this morning. And you can start by looking at the planning pages of the module, and then you can go into the lesson. And as we just went through the 5E model, I'm just going to give you guys some time to look through a lesson and look through the pieces for the 5E model. You can take a look at the Paige-Keeley Science Probe for a lesson, and also take a look at the assessment. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see right now that my ebook has 2 pages showing at one time. You can click on the rectangle here and it will just show you 1 page at a time. That's kind of how I like to view things. And then if you go over to the right arrow here, that will go to the next page. The left arrow will take you back. Up at the top here, if you need it a little bit bigger, you can click the magnifying glass, and then it will zoom in on your book, make it bigger or make it smaller. Okay, I'm going to move on to the last section of the training. And what I wanted to do with the last part of the training is share with you some resources that are available for incorporating reading and science to make those connections. So if you can't see my screen now, let me know. I am back to the presentation, and I will let me get to the slide I need since I went back. All right, so just to point out some resources that you have to incorporate reading with science and making those connections. I know as a classroom teacher, it's sometimes very difficult to fit it all in. So incorporating reading into your science instruction, or, taking some of the science content into your reading block can help you when you might be a little pressed for time, and making those connections. So you do have leveled readers. Every grade level has leveled readers, and there are 4 levels for each title. And you can see on the screen that the levels are color coded. So the orange books are for approaching level, and the blue books are for on-level students, and the green books are for beyond level students, and the purple titles are for ELL support. So you will have 1 set per module, and there are 6 copies of each book. You, I'm assuming, have the physical books in your classroom, but you also have access to the books digitally too. And you can use the books digitally. You can pull up the books digitally to read with the kids or show the kids, like on your smartboard. You can also assign the books to the kids to read. So the books can be assigned and pushed out to the kids to read. I will show you how to do that in a minute. They also have access to all of the books all of the time in their student account. So to assign the books, I'm going to go back to the ConnectEd account. All right. And then up in the upper left-hand corner, we call that the hamburger menu. So you can either just follow along with me now, or you can try this on your own in your account. If you go up to the hamburger menu, and then you go down to resources, over at the side here, you will see a lot of resources that are associated with your module and your grade level. So one of the things you can do, there's always several ways to get to the different resources in ConnectEd. One of the things you can do is click over here for keyword search, and you will see a list of the books come up. And there are many of the books are in the program. So if you can just scroll through here and see the books that'll come up. If you want to get more specific, you can do a keyword search, or you can click the tab that says lesson search, and then you can go to the specific lesson that you want. So I could be in lesson, the first module, lesson 3, and then the different resources will come up for that module or the lesson. So what you can do is, if you wanted to view this with all of the kids, you can pull it up on your screen. You can read it with the whole class. Something else that you can do is you can assign it to the kids. So if you look at the bottom right-hand corner of the book that you want, you can click the gear, and then you can assign the resource. So if you click on assign the resource, you can give the assignment a name. The book that's going to be attached is right here. You can give the assignment a name and any kind of instructions you want to put in there. You would put in your start date and then the ending date. And then at the bottom here, you would select the students that would be receiving the book. So you can assign it to everybody in the class, or you can just assign it to a group of kids. So since these are leveled, you might want to give a certain group of kids the approaching level books. Some of the kids would get the on level books. Some would get the above level books. I don't have any students in the classroom now because this is just a sample account. But when you have your kids get uploaded to that single sign-on we talked about earlier, your kids will show up in here, and then you can just check who you want the book to be assigned to, and then you would click assign. And then it will get pushed out to the students. And I can show you that on their end in a moment. But another thing just to keep track of, since you have just assigned a book, If you go up to that hamburger menu again, and then you go down to assignment tracker, you can keep track of the assignments here, so you can make sure that you assigned it. Now, mine is not showing up here again because I didn't have any students in the account, so there's nothing here, but you would be able to see something that you have assigned to the kids. So that's one way you can assign the leveled readers to the kids, or if you just want to view the book to read with the kids online, using like your smartboard to project it to read, you can do it that way. The other thing that I want to show you is how the children can access the readers. If you click the hamburger menu again and click Connect Ed, it's going to take us to the main menu of Connect Ed, and then we're going to go to a student edition. So I'm going to click the first grade here. We can do any grade level. It doesn't really matter. They're all about the same. If you click on the student edition of first grade, then what you can do is you can click the book icon, and I feel like maybe I went a little too fast there. Here where it says lesson resources, you can click the book icon, and then all of the books will pop up here. So the kids have access to look at these books at any time, or you can specifically assign them a title and a level that you want them to read that would go with the lesson that you're working with. And right now, everything is popping up here, but again, you can narrow the search so that they are only looking up, they are only getting the books that match the module. So you can limit it that way. Another thing that you might have noticed when we logged in here in the student account is here it says homework. If you pushed out a leveled reader for the students to read, it would show up right here. The kids would see that they have something assigned to them, and then they could click on that and open the reader. But there are two ways to have the kids access the reader. One is either you assign it to them, or like I showed you here within the resource library, they do have access to all of the titles for their grade level.